It has now been a year since the fall of Bashar al-Assad, the end of a family regime that had gone on for decades and the end of a 14-year civil war. In a lightning offensive, a group of Islamist fighters took the capital and control. Today, former jihadist Ammar al-Sharaa heads an interim government. The transition remains somewhat fragile, with reports of ongoing sectarian violence. For this anniversary, the Alawites of Assad have called on people to boycott celebrations, while the Kurds of the north are saying that tensions are too high to market with large public gatherings. However, wanting to rebuild, the interim government has reached out to the international community. It's also called on Syrians living abroad to come home. Well, we're joined now by Syrian interpreter and journalist Bushra Al Zoubi. Thanks so much for coming into studio here at France 24 and joining us. Now, you've been living here in France for the past couple of years, but you had to flee Syria when that war first broke out. I believe you're only around 18, and you were just back from Syria, which was your first trip in all that time. Firstly, how do you feel today on this, the first anniversary of the fall of Bashar al-Assad?
Good morning, and thank you so much for inviting me. It's a lot of mixed feeling because obviously we were very, very excited and happy about the fall of Assad. I think we still are, and we have the right to, because we're very... It's incredible to get rid of a dictatorship, one of the worst of our century. So I think it's a victory for Syrians, but also for everyone who's like fighting oppression. But this year has been very challenging because I'm sad to see people be kidnapped or killed or displaced again or incarcerated again. So yeah, it's been very challenging. So I have a lot of really mixed feelings. And I'm happy to have been able to witness what Syria has become after the fall of Assad and after 14 years of exile.
Because you got to travel around, before we get into the politics of how difficult it is for you to actually return to your home country, you did get to travel around a lot of Syria. So, you know, how does it differ? How badly is it damaged from all this war? I'm hearing that, you know, even funding is being held back. And again, this violence, is it sporadic or is it in certain areas? Give us a better picture of the lie of the land today.
So basically, I come from a very small village in the east of Daraa, in the south of Syria. And I have never been able to discover the rest of Syria. And I think it was like a systematic way Assad used to actually divide us so that we don't know each other. And I was very lucky to be able to actually travel around Syria and meet Alawites, Druze, Christians all over Syria.
That had all been forbidden by Assad?
Yeah, it was not very direct. It was indirectly forbidden because we didn't have the means to actually travel around. And I come from a very conservative background, so my family also, like the instrumentalization of the religion and the culture, did that I couldn't actually travel around and meet other Syrians. But I think, like, you know, the lack of good transportation, the lack of good infrastructure, the lack of good education made us be really divided and actually hate each other, because the propaganda of Assad also always like made us feel very frustrated about the other and not really want or have the curiosity to meet the others. So yeah, I traveled a lot around Syria. A lot of places are very, very sad. Daraa, where I come from, the center is completely damaged. You don't have any building that's still standing. The outskirt of Damascus is very sad because once you're in Damascus, it's very busy, it's very noisy, it's full of life. You walk out a couple kilometers, and it's complete silence because it's completely destroyed by the Assad war machine, as well as Russians, Iranians, and Hezbollah. But then you go to the coast and you're very uncomfortable because as a person who comes from a Sunnite background, I'm very privileged because I'm well received by the community today, because in Daraa I was like where the revolution has started, so people completely like accept me because I have a Sunnite background. But in the coast, people are sad, people are very terrified of what is happening, and violence is very present, and people who are very scared is very, very tangible. So I was very uncomfortable in the coast, but then you go back to Damascus or to Daraa or to other places, and then you feel comfortable because you see huge change, and you see a different relationship to the army, to the police. It's a different way of dealing with institutions. You feel a bit more like a citizen.
Okay, I am hearing hope there that change and positive change could be coming, but there is that element of, there were so many, even a myriad of so many different fighting groups within Syria, and once that war comes to an end, I mean, where do those fighters go? I mean, I guess that fear lingers as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why in the coast they're very, very scared, and they have all the right to be, because a lot of women have been kidnapped, a lot of people were killed since March, same in the Druze area in the south. So I think we had a lot of ambitions, but it's a bit like dimming with time, because first, what happened with Alawites is not acceptable, but you could understand. But then what happened with the Druze completely killed this kind of ambition we had, but at the same time, I still trust Syrians. That's why today I'm still happy and I still rejoice the fall of Assad, because Syrians who sacrificed for like 15 years, 14 years, they wouldn't let, I hope, a dictatorship take place again in Syria.
And what do you make of this interim government? I mean, his past would lead us to believe he was quite extreme. I mean, how do you think he will want to set up this country? How many freedoms? What will the role of women be in Syria going forward?
I think I wouldn't allow myself to reduce Syria to a government or to one person. And Syrian women don't need to be given rights, because their rights are completely natural, and they actually took it away from everyone who tried to like deprive them from that. And Syrian women, yes, I think a lot of their suffering has been very invisibilized throughout 14 years, and it's the lack of international community support and international community admission of what was happening in Syria. But Syrian women have done amazing achievement, and they're very, very courageous. They had a different role. Since 2011, Syrians have become really like essential to life in Syria and to the revolution, and they made it, their sacrifices made us get to where we are today, because we saw that a lot of women wrote books, started NGOs, led sessions in the UN, and they lost their breadwinner. So they had to actually do a very big role. That's why actually I'm writing, and I wrote an article that will come out today for Syria Direct on their invisibilized suffering, but at the same time at their great role at managing the situation and managing the war, and actually helping in every single way. So I don't think Syrian women today would allow anyone to actually let them or not do something.
I know, I guess as the international community, you keep hearing about these men who took control, and you're wondering, yes, this was a civilian uprising.
You go to Syria and you see this revolutionary women who want to actually just like take away their...
They're still in control.
Yeah, no, they would not allow that to happen. They never did, actually. But I don't want, like, the international community just reduces Syria to the role of women, these jihadists, whatever. I don't care about, like, a government or a person.
When you're there, you're free and...
Of course. And Syrian women wouldn't let anyone to actually let them do something or don't, no.
As you say, the dictatorship is over. But now tell us a bit about your personal story, you know, when you fled the war and how you ended up, actually, first of all, coming here to France.
Yeah, so I fled the war in 2012 at the end, because it got really complicated with airstrikes, and my brother lost his voice. It was very complicated. So we went to Jordan, which is the closest to Daraa. I stayed there for like almost 9 years, and then I got a scholarship to come to France. I did 1 year of the French language and 2 years of masters in Sciences Po. And today I don't know, I am a human rights defender. I'm an independent journalist because I write a lot of articles. I actually kind of use journalism as a platform to talk about subjects that are really interesting to me, that are very, very important. And and I started the campaign with a couple of Syrian comrades just after the fall of Assad to actually do advocacy to the French government so that they allow us to go to Syria for like a one-time visit to check the country, because what happened in Syria is very exceptional, so it takes exceptional measures. So basically, I'm a refugee, I'm a political refugee, and in the 51 Convention, you don't have the right to go to the country of origin, but at the same time, what happened is completely exceptional, so it needs exceptional measures as well. So we asked the French government, and they gave us this right to actually go to Syria to visit, to check out what is happening, and to see if we want to come back at some point or not. And I did go, and I think it's like completely natural that the government gives us this right. And I think the rest of Europe should follow exactly this lead. And they have to know that Syria is not able today to receive 6 million Syrians. These Syrians who invested in foreign countries, and they have a different life. They have their families, they have their schools, they have everything in this country. They are invested here, so they can't be just kicked out.
Indeed, when you're applying to be a political refugee, when you're a political refugee, you're asking protection from the country that you've moved to, and if you move home, they see that as asking that country for protection. Has France now given the right to visit Syria to all Syrians universally, or is it on a case-by-case basis still?
It's normally universally, but the problem is that we don't have a clear circulaire to different prefectures. So some of the prefecture would say, I understand you have the right to go to Syria, to visit Syria. Some of the prefecture would say no. But at the same time, we have this right and you can just apply. And it's through your prefecture of
But how does that change your reality? We'll say, give us an idea of what difference that made for your life.
I think it's like completely insane to be able to go to your country of origin after 14 years, because I have said Syria doesn't exist anymore for me. Syria of Assad never existed for me. And I was like, I'm starting over a whole life and I don't want to think about my country of origin. But now that Assad is gone, I feel this huge responsibility to actually like be involved in Syria, but I can't go back to Syria definitively now because I need a guarantee. Because if things go wrong, I can't give up on my freedom to movement, and I can't just stay in Syria. So my country of France is also my country now. So I need guarantees. I can't just go to Syria definitively, but also there is my sister in Syria that I haven't seen for 14 years. When I got to Syria, like I saw her kids, and I felt that I'm still seeing them behind the screen because this is how I know them. So yeah, I think it's a natural right to everyone, and I think every Syrian should have the right to go visit and see Syria and feel the freedom, but also the problems that are happening today in Syria to continue to supervise this government, because it's our responsibility today to not let this government go too far or like abuse our rights.
And for finally, very briefly, the Syrians who are still living abroad, as you say, so many millions, it would be logistically impossible for everybody to move home at the same time. What would you like them to have? I know you'd like them, they're currently not able to vote if there's elections in Syria.
Exactly the reason why we did this campaign. It's called Liberté d'agir, droit de revenir. And it's our right to be part of the transition of the elections. We have to be part of the number of Syrians today. Yes, we are in the diaspora, but we never chose that. So I want us to be part of the numbers of Syrians. I want us to be able to vote, to be part of the legislative elections, but also the presidential. And I want them to also ask our opinions in every single decision that is made in Syria.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it there. But Bushra Al Zoubi, thanks so much for coming in and bringing us your insight into Syria.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.